you are not going to be stuck in this situation. Like, first of all, God has made you for a reason. Second of all, you are Anu. Yeah. I had to be like, I'm actually that girl. I'm actually that girl who just happened to have a setback, but I can overcome this setback. And I did. Hey everyone, welcome back to Nunu's Corner, where I share real talks, real faith, real life rooted in God's Word. So essentially what I do is I break down topics that we as young people go through nowadays. I try to tackle it, I explain why it happens, and I also try to explain ways we can overcome these challenges as young people in today's age, because things can be hard, okay? So we have to kind of come together as a community to find ways that we can overcome these challenges, these situations. And I also center everything back to God, because God is the center. He's literally the blue stick to literally everything. So I center every topic back to Him. Let's get into it. So today, guys, I will be speaking about anxiety. I will also be talking about other, mental health struggles as well, because mental health it's become this big thing that has impacted so many people, not just young people, middle-aged people, older people, parents, grandparents, children as well. It has affected so many people, and I'm so glad that the economy that we are in nowadays, there's more mental health awareness, and people are shedding more light into mental health struggles, because it's this big thing. It really shapes who we become as people. It shapes our society, and understanding these mental health struggles is also taking the right step forward into finding out ways that we can combat it and overcome those mental health challenges. So before I get into what anxiety is, let's just know that we have two types of anxiety. We have good anxiety and we have bad anxiety. I know y'all are like, what? There's good anxiety? Yeah, there's good anxiety. I'm trying to find a way to kind of explain what good anxiety is, but it's kind of like this urge. It's yeah, you're worried about certain things, but it's in a healthy way, right? So let's say you have a specific task that you want to accomplish, or you have a goal that you want to achieve. So that worry kind of motivates you. It boosts you to do the necessary things that you need to do to be able to accomplish those specific tasks, or to be able to achieve those goals. So that, in a nutshell, is what good anxiety is. But today I will be talking about bad anxiety. So what is bad anxiety? Bad anxiety is it's fear, it's worry, it's uneasiness, that pretty much stems from fear, just that fear of not knowing what is to come. It's that fear of the future, fear of not being able to control certain situations. Bad anxiety can really affect people in a negative way. And it can also take place in people's lives in different shapes, in different ways, in different forms. It can produce somatic symptoms, it can produce phantom symptoms. And this is where, your body is pretty much reacting to the anxiety. So you think that you have specific, certain pains or medical conditions, when that's not really the case. It's just that fear that's, producing those symptoms. It can produce panic attacks where, it's this stifling fear that just produces this attack where you feel like you can't breathe, you feel like you're stuck, you feel like there's nothing you can do, So it really has affected so many people in just negative ways, and people have negative experiences about this bad anxiety. And another thing to know is that our thoughts really has shaped, it also forms the bad anxiety. So our thoughts could be, oh, how are we going to do this? How am I going to move into this next step? How am I going to accomplish this? It's just that overthinking. So yes, it's good to think, but when we start overthinking, that's when it becomes this issue. That's when it produces that bad anxiety. So our thoughts, we really need to learn how to kind of gain control of our thoughts, gain control of how we think. Because if we don't, it can produce that bad anxiety. Bad anxiety could also stem from sleepless nights, not getting enough sleep. It could stem from feeling stressed, not knowing what to do, not knowing how to be able to prioritize yourself to where you're not being stressed all the time. So because you're feeling more stressed, it produces that bad anxiety. Bad anxiety could also stem from things that people have experienced as kids. We have this thing called adverse child experiences, where people go through things as children. They go through traumatic experiences as children, and it kind of like follows them into their adolescence, or follows them into their adulthood. And it can also be a traumatic effect, a traumatic event that happened recently that you don't even know that has, kind of impacted your body or shaken up your body in a negative way to where it is producing that bad anxiety. So, as I said before, learning how to control those thoughts, everything, literally, bad anxiety, it literally stems from how we think, how we perceive certain situations. So, knowing how to understand our thoughts, to gain control of our thoughts, that's how we are able to combat bad anxiety. So I'm going to share my personal experiences about bad anxiety. So, this has happened to me, I would say more so, around my adolescence, where I started thinking that what I have this, strong fear of losing my loved ones. So I would think, okay, if I get a call from my siblings or my parents, something bad has happened to them, So that just stifling fear that if I'm getting a call, something bad is about to happen. And because I have this fear of losing my loved ones, I don't want any of my loved ones to go. I don't want to lose anybody that I hold dear. So I would always have this fear that if I'm getting a call, or if I'm not hearing from them too, something bad has happened. And I will also say that I had my first panic attack, I would say around when I was 20, 21. And then it started happening more rapidly when I was about 23. So, about 23, this was when I was still trying to figure out, my career, who I'm meant to be, who I'm called to be, because, everything had happened back in college. I had graduated, but nothing was working out for me. So it just kind of created this fear that what if I'm just going to be stuck here? What if nothing is going to happen? What if nothing good is going to happen for me? So because of that, I started experiencing panic attacks. And you know how panic attacks can be. It just feels like you're stuck. It feels like there's nowhere. I wouldn't even wish it on my worst enemy. It feels like you're stuck in this box. You can't breathe. It just feels like something bad is about to happen. It's like this fear of like impending doom. So yeah, I started experiencing panic attacks rapidly. It would be back to back to back. Um, so, how can you fully combat and overcome bad anxiety? So, I would say for me, what helped me is I realized that this is not who I am. These mental health struggles and challenges, they do not define who you are as a person. So I started to say, okay, this is not me. This isn't me. This is not this isn't normal. I also realized that this is not normal. This is not something that somebody should be experiencing, especially if it's back to back to back and it's just continuously. Um, and I realized that I acknowledged it. I was like, okay, and this is the first step, actually, acknowledgement of what you're, battling with, acknowledgement of that fear, acknowledgement of that anxiety. So I was like, okay, this is truly happening to me. This is my experience right now. Even though it does not define me, it is something that I am currently going through, right? So I acknowledged that, okay, yes, this is happening to me. And then what I did next is I realized that, okay, these thoughts, these panic attacks, they are coming from somewhere. I don't know where it's coming from, but they are coming from somewhere. And I had to kind of sit down and try to understand how or why these panic attacks are coming back to back to back. Because again, it was something that I wasn't really experiencing. It wasn't happening to me up until that point. So I was like, okay, there's a reason for this. So I had to sit back and truly think about why this was happening to me. Then I realized, oh, it's because of this, it's because of that, it's because of just this fear that I'm not going to amount to anything, of this fear that I'm not going to make it, of this fear that I'm not going to get a career, of this fear that people are going to look at me and just ask, why is she stuck? Why is nothing happening for her? Just that fear that nothing good is going to happen to me. That's what I felt. That's what I truly felt. And once I understood that, I was like, oh, so this is why this is happening. And I kid you not, guys, the moment that I realized that this is why this is happening, that's when the panic attack stopped happening as, you know, as continuously as it was happening. Um, and I'm also very grateful for the support system that I had, because I was able to kind of like explain to them, this is what's going on. And yes, they were able to pray for me, but they were also able to encourage me that you are not going to be stuck in this situation. Like, first of all, God has made you for a reason. Second of all, you are Anu. Yeah. I had to be like, I'm actually that girl. I'm actually that girl who just happened to have a setback, but I can overcome this setback. And I did. I had to go back, and I had to go back to the drawing board, and I had to realize that, okay, I had to just find ways to kind of understand who I am, understand what I like, to be able to get into the career that I wanted to be in. And I am in the career that I'm in currently. And I'm so grateful to God, because I truly love this field. I truly love the job that I'm at. And that's after, even though it would happen just a little bit, eventually it stopped. Eventually it stopped. And I was like, wow, so this is what stemmed that bad anxiety. So it's acknowledgments, it's understanding where this is coming from, why this is happening. And also, when you find yourself in this space of everything just feels closed in, you feel like you can't breathe, or you're maybe having a panic attack, just breathing exercises, maybe holding your breath for 5 seconds when you breathe in, or grounding techniques where I believe it's 5 things that you see, 4 things that you feel, 3 things that you hear, I believe, or 3 things that you hear, 2 things that you smell, and 1 thing that you can taste. Just that grounding technique that, that kind of like anchors you back to reality. So doing, little exercises like that can help. And then also, going to maybe seeking professional help. So going to a mental health therapist who can, or a psychologist who can help, kind of dissect where all of this bad anxiety is coming from. So when you're able to dissect it, when you're able to fully understand it, you're like, okay, so this is what is happening. And you're able to find ways to slowly overcome it. So yeah, things like that can really help to combat that bad anxiety. And also realizing, like I said before, that this is not who I am. This does not define me. This is not this is not what God has set for me. That's when you're able to even, get out of that mentality as well. So because I center everything back to God, there's a scripture that comes into mind, right? It's, I have not given you the spirit of fear, but of love, of power, of a sound mind. Imagine, like, our own God has not given us the spirit of fear. It's not a quality that he wants us to possess. So I had to dig back and be like, okay, if this is not, if this is not what God wants for us, where does anxiety come from? It's just also a spiritual attack. It can be a spiritual attack because you're not really handling the pressures of life. And because you're not handling it, you're not finding ways to combat it. And because of that, it brings about that anxiety, brings about that fear. God has not given us the spirit of fear. It's something that comes from that battle that's going on in our mind. It's something that comes from the enemy, because the enemy sees us and he doesn't want us to, accomplish where he knows that we're supposed to accomplish, if that makes sense. God has set a plan, and he has set a purpose for each and every single one of us. So the devil tries to use fear, he tries to use this anxiety to hold us back. It's the reason for why people might have the fear of being around people, being around certain environments, that agoraphobia. Like, it's not of God. It's not normal. It's not normal. It happens, yes, and once we realize that it happens, we're able to, better help ourselves overcome it. But it is not us. It's not defined for us. It is not who God has called for us to be. It's not part of our skill sets. It's not what God has made in us. It's something that just, again, because the things of this world just attaches so many negative things. So because of that, anxiety is one of those things that it just attaches. And again, it stems from the enemy. It stems from our thoughts. It stems from just that we're not able to let that thing go, that concept, that mind battle. We're not able to let it go. And because of that, it produces that anxiety. So understanding and realizing that God has not placed in us these God has not, it was never intended for God to place in us anxiety. He has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, of love, of a sound mind. Sound mind. He wants us to be sound in our way of thinking. He wants us to be sound in our way of reasoning. He wants us to be sound. He doesn't want us to overthink. He wants us to just let's go and let's be and let God take control of everything, you know? And also, what also really helped me as well is memorizing scriptures. That's one thing that I would highly advocate, because memorizing scriptures allowed me to understand that, okay, this is not who God has called. This is not what God has called for me to be. He has not called for anxiety to be part of my description. You get what I'm saying? He has not called for anxiety to be part of my description. He has not called for anxiety to be who I am, because a lot of people will be like, "Oh yeah, that's just who I am at this point." No, it's not normal. It's not you. It's not you. God wants you to have a sound mind. He wants you to have a sound mind, but it's that fear that's not allowing you to be who God has called you to be. But once you realize that, okay, this is not normal, you're able to seek God, because even going to God is able to, he reveals to you things that maybe had happened to you a while back, that created that experience, that allowed for you to react the way that you do. And he's also able to, pretty much tell you this is ways that you can overcome it. And then sometimes that is seeking, professional help. There's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes going to a therapist, sometimes, somebody who can understand what you're going through and is able to talk you through it is needed. And that's okay. That is okay. That's, you're reclaiming your strength. So memorizing verses, memorizing scriptures. God has also said in his word, don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow knows tomorrow. I know tomorrow. You don't know tomorrow. Don't worry about tomorrow. Don't worry, because God has got you. But that feeling of wanting to be in control of the situation, guys, I understand it because I've lived it. Sometimes I'm still living in it, to where I want to control every little thing that goes on in my life. Because if I don't have that control, then, well, all hell breaks loose, quite literally. So I want to have that control, but I had to understand that, first of all the plans that I have for myself, sometimes it's not even going to work out according to how I wanted or how I had it planned in my head. But when I let go and I just let God, man, it's like this breath, it's like this heavy burden has been released, because God is, taking control of that burden. He's taking control of that situation. I'm allowing him that space in my heart to just fix everything for me, and when he does, it's it's honestly better than what we had planned, because it's God's plan. So I have had to let go of trying to control what happens tomorrow, and I just let go and I let God. Easier said than done, right? I know. But once you start practicing it now, once you start putting those verses, those scriptures into your mind now, you're able to start combating that bad anxiety, combating those negative thoughts in your head. So just let go and let God. Let go and let God. And stop trying to be in control of everything. He knows tomorrow. He knows our future. We don't know our future. We don't know what's going to happen in the next 5, 10, 15 years. And even that fear that I had of, losing my loved ones, I had to understand that, there is a time where we are going to, just as we're alive on this earth, we're also going to pass away. But it's not about how long we've lived, it's about how well we have lived it. That's something that my dad has always said. It's not about how long. Life is short, it's very short, but it says it's how well we have lived it. Another person in the Bible that I had really started, looking more into was David. Imagine a kid. I don't know how old David was per se, but I think he was about maybe 16, 17, 18. He was a youth, he was a teenager. All these other people, all these other warriors, right? All these other warriors, they were trained. They couldn't defeat Goliath because they were scared. They were stuck into that mindset that we can't do this. Look how big he is. But David was able to look past that. He was like, yes, I'm looking at how big he is, but my God is bigger. My God is bigger. Once he was able to look past that, he was like, okay, send me to the field. He is like, the same God who delivered the bear and the lion into my hands is the same God who will deliver Goliath into my hands. And look what he did with just one stone into the forehead of Goliath's head. He was able to defeat Goliath. He was so courageous. Having courage does not mean that you're not scared. Having courage is that you are proactively seeking to find, let me say, the light at the end of the tunnel. You are seeking to find the good out of the bad. So you are still kind of scared in a sense. You are choosing to let that fear go to be able to succeed, to be able to progress. And when you're able to get out of that mentality, that's when you start seeing the effects. You know what I mean? So let's dare to be like David, who, although he might have been scared, but he still realized and he believed that there is a God who sits on the throne. And the same God who has delivered me from these situations is the same God who will deliver me from this. And that's how we're able to progress. That's how we can be victorious. That's how we can be able to combat those negative thoughts, that bad anxiety in our head. It's a thought. It's this little thing in your thought that just grows because you're not doing anything about it. You're just letting it sit. But once you're able to take it and you're like, okay, enough is enough, then you're able to overcome that bad anxiety. And I know it's a process. It's been a process for me. And even though I haven't had a panic attack in so long, sometimes there was this one time where it just snuck up on me, but I just remembered God has not given me the spirit of fear. He's given me the spirits of love, of power, of a sound mind. So whatever this is, this ain't normal. You got to go. And best believe it did go. And best believe it'll go for you as well. So that's it for today's podcast about anxiety. I'm so sorry if I was all over the place. I felt like I was jumping from one subject to the other. But again, anxiety is this big thing that a lot of people are actually going through and they don't really understand it and they don't understand how to tackle it. But just start from acknowledging it. Start from realizing this is not normal. Start from understanding where it stems from. And start by taking the necessary steps to be able to overcome it. So yeah, that's it for today, guys, about bad anxiety. If this video resonates with you, please like, please share, and also hit that subscribe button. I hope you guys have a wonderful and prosperous week ahead. Bye, guys.